Hello, this is Mary Dubler, and this is another in our series on animals, birds, and bugs of the Bible. Our topic today is the goat. And have you ever wondered about the origin of the word scapegoat? We will learn about that too. Throughout much of the world, there are wild and domestic goats. The goat was one of the first animals to be domesticated, this occurring thousands of years ago in Western Asia. Wild goats, such as the Iberian ibex, live in the mountains, whereas domestic goats are raised in many different habitats. An adult male goat is called a buck or a billy, and the female is a doe or nanny. Births are usually twins, and the young goats are called kids. Most goats of either sex have 2 horns. Goats are ruminants like cattle, deer, and other species, so they eat plants and can survive even if the vegetation is sparse. Goats are agile and able to climb on bare rock and balance in precarious places. Here is some interesting trivia for you. Goats are the only ruminants that regularly climb trees. Their ability to climb makes them skillful escape artists. India and China have the largest numbers of domestic goats. Goats are raised for milk, meat, fiber, and skins. Goat milk is often made into cheese. Mohair, which is very soft and warm, is made from the hair of Angora goats. The hair is collected by shearing. Cashmere is another type of fiber that comes from many different breeds of goats, and it is typically collected in the spring when the goats naturally shed their winter coats. Both mohair and cashmere can be dyed and spun into yarn to make garments and other items. The Old Testament book of Leviticus chapter 16 describes how on the Day of Atonement the high priest chose 2 male goats. The first he sacrificed to the Lord and sprinkled its blood on the Ark of the Covenant that was in the most holy place of the temple. Placing his hands on the head of the second goat, the high priest would then confess all the sins of the people. The sins were thus transferred to the goat, and the animal was driven into the desert. In this way, the sins were carried away from the people and would be forgotten by God. This ritual had to be carried out year after year. When the Old Testament was first translated from Hebrew to English, the Hebrew word for the second goat was rendered as a scapegoat in English. Over time, this was shortened to scapegoat, and this word is now in common usage to indicate a person who is blamed and punished for the actions of others. Thankfully, goats for a yearly sacrifice and for a scapegoat are no longer needed to cleanse us and carry away our sins. God's Son Jesus, who never sinned, willingly took our sins on himself and died on a cross. His perfect sacrifice is good for all time, and it made a way for us to be set free from the guilt of sin. Reading now Hebrews chapter 9, verses 12 through 15. With his own blood, not the blood of goats and calves, he entered the most holy place once for all time and secured our redemption forever. Under the old system, the blood of goats and bulls and the ashes of a heifer could cleanse people's bodies from ceremonial impurity. Just think how much more the blood of Christ will purify our consciences from sinful deeds so that we can worship the living God. For by the power of the eternal Spirit, Christ offered himself to God as a perfect sacrifice for our sins. That is why he is the one who mediates a new covenant between God and people, so that all who are called can receive the eternal inheritance God has promised them. For Christ died to set them free from the penalty of the sins they had committed under that first covenant. I am so grateful that Jesus has made a way for all who believe in him to be forgiven and set free. Have you been set free? This is Mary Dubler, and I hope you have enjoyed learning about goats and Christ's perfect sacrifice. Please watch others of our videos in the Animals, Birds, and Bugs of the Bible playlist.